Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. It's time for the podcast. I don't know if I'm as good as sliced bread, but I usually I could mispronounce a sliced bread, spiced bread, or spliced bread. And maybe we'd have sliced bread and sell it by the seashore. Sliced, Scoots' bread, sliced, spiced, and I want to say diced. I could, if you're making, what's that stuff called you have at Thanksgiving? Stuffing. You do slice it, spice it, and dice it, and splice it too. And I do actually with my. This is totally off topic, but for my stuffing, I do like to mix like a rye or pumpernickel in a sourdough. Just a little pro tip, and totally seasonally out of date. You know what I'm talking about? Good question. You know why I'm talking about it? Because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And if you're a regular listener, if I could really please have your attention for just a few minutes, and then when your hand hits the fridge tomorrow, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors, because this is the ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody, I was wondering if I have a couple updates for you. The show has crossed some big milestones. It's about to, when I'm recording this, we're getting close to 800 episodes. A few months ago, we crossed 100 million downloads. And that was free to everybody. You know, that's the kind of thing I've been talking about lately. And that's because of those of you that have taken action, those of you that are patrons in particular, and maybe you're listening, you say, hey, I'm a patron, this is cool. And if you're not a patron, maybe you supported the show some other ways. We're going to do something really fun in September to celebrate it. So keep your ears out. But if you are a patron or you've been thinking about it, you're kind of on the fence, or you have been a patron, you're a big, big, big part of that because it is the primary way we've kept the show free for everybody. That and the people that support the sponsors. It is wildly rebellious to pay for a free podcast, but it really is like you're making a sacrifice for your own self-care and then actually supporting the care of thousands of other people. And that's kind of the definition of creating community. Like I really do use the analogy like a community garden. Like anyone could come to this podcast and come and take what, for in this case, the sleepy stuff they need. But the ability to keep the community garden open, to have the supplies and the labor that goes into maintaining it, that's because of you patrons and you people that support the sponsors. And there's nothing wrong with choosing or not being in a position to do so. But those of you that did take action, it is something worthy of celebrating. And I hope if you're listening to this, you could feel really good about it. And you say, well, I was a patron for a little while, but now I can't. Well, you are a huge, huge part of this. And if you did something free, like spread the word about this show, you're a part of this too. You really should feel good. That's think about that. It's over 100 million times the podcast has probably been listened to for free when someone needed it. Now, if you're new or you say, well, I'm not sure. Well, I'm just trying to get this across to people that say, I do get a lot of value out of the show. I am rebellious and I do pay my cable company all this money. What am I doing? If any of that resonates with you, or if you want to become a patron, you could go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. I guess that's what I was saying, if anything resonates with you. I think that's it. I thought I had something else. If you have supported the sponsors or supported the show by spreading the word, you will get a chance to participate in this fun thing we're doing. Don't worry. Just to listen to the Sleepy Supporter Zone coming up. But I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for helping us reach these milestones. It really, I could not have done it without all of you supporting the show and listening and sleeping to it. Thank you. Hey, everybody. I wanted to congratulate Sam and Sam's family on the purchase of a new Casper hybrid mattress. It's time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone. And it's funny because Sam and Sam's family is going to be supported in that wonderful Casper hybrid, the same one Scoots has got. And they're supporting the podcast that puts you and everybody else to sleep, so it stays free for everybody. So I wanted to thank Sam for letting me know and let Casper know. And go to casper.com/sleepwith and use Sleep With at checkout to get $100 towards select mattresses. Terms and conditions apply. But thanks, and let me know when you support a sponsor like Casper. But that's it. This is the end of the part of the show. I need you to hear the Sleepy Supporter Zone. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Mystery Bard, I was wondering, there's a lot of people who work very hard on this show. Who are they?
Chris Posty Poster Son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance to be part of Nine Vale Presents. So now on with the show.
Thank you, Mystery Bard. I'm at Dear Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. Also, the huge way to help the show and help other people in your life is to share your honest experience with the podcast. If you need some ideas on how to do that, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/share. And I believe that's it. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physicals, anything physical. So things you're thinking about, things you're experiencing emotionally, physically feeling, where you might be. You could be traveling, someone else could be traveling. You could be a student. You could work the second or the third shift. You could be getting ready for whatever it is. I'd like to take your mind off of that. That's really the gist of the show, is to take your mind off of things while you fall asleep, to keep you company as you drift off into dreamland. And I don't usually use this word facilitate, but to create a safe place to facilitate all that. And it's really an important part of it is, even though it's like a totem, a safe place, it's not really a totem. Theater of the mind is what totem stands for. But, it's a joint safe place that I'm carving out here and kind of saying, here's plenty of room. And the other ways I try to facilitate it, or Scoots, hold on with before establishation before facilitation. And I say chim chimney, or chim chim chiree for sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep dark night. I'm going to use a lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, nonsense, in nonsense words, or words that are contextually nonsensical. Like you say, well, for a chimney sweep or a character in a musical or an actor or an actress in a musical, chim chimney, chim chiree makes sense. In the middle of a sleep podcast when you were talking about something else that somehow you already forgot about, I don't even know what nonsense words or whatever. Oh no, that was my nonsense word. Okay, I got mixed up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across, nonsense words. or nonsensically. Yeah, send my voice across the deep, lulling, soothing tones, pointless meanders. And kind of like, not just, there's a part of it that's nonsensical in a way. To try to deflate the intensity at bedtime, to dial it down. You can hear me breathing, to give some levity, to give you some room, not just to breathe, but to unwind, to get some distance and then to drift off. You're here maybe because you heard about this podcast, maybe you're a regular listener. Glad you're here. Maybe this is your second or third time, or anything. Maybe you occasionally use the show. But maybe I don't know if you're here because you're having trouble getting to sleep, falling asleep, staying asleep, in the middle of sleep, whatever it is, you deserve some rest. I mean, if you're here for a good night's sleep, you deserve that. If you're here for a break during the day, you deserve some room there to breathe too. And that's really why I'm here, is to help. Now, this doesn't work for everybody. So if you're new, and you're approaching the show with a healthy dose of skepticism or even an extra, and then you say, and a couple extra tablespoons of skepticism, totally makes sense. Like maybe you heard about this podcast and you said, what is it? It's a sleep podcast? Okay. And maybe this is already a little divergent from your expectations. It's a little bit different. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, who am I to kind of, well, I've been there. That's why I make the show. Also, my thoughts tend to be disjointed. So that maybe make you more skeptical at first. So all I can say is give it a few tries. If you're new, let me give you a couple other pieces of information. Structurally, the show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep the show free and going for over 6 years. So thanks everybody. More important for regular listeners. If you're new, just to kind of whatever. Thanks for listening to that. Then there's an intro. Now we're probably a couple minutes into the intro. The intro is like the wind down portion of the show, or for some listeners, and maybe this is me being idealizing things, because there's no wrong way to use this podcast. But I am a hopeless romantic when it comes to bedtime routines. I wish I had, I wish I, sorry, I just goofing on myself. I said, well, you could, anyway, my bedtime routine, unfortunately, is hopelessly non-romantic. So I guess I got caught in my own pun. I was exposed by an accidental pun, but, what was I saying? Like in my romantic version of it, which is much like my romantic bedtime anyway, is, I picture listeners that kind of start the show, or there's like listeners that take care of dogs, either in professional or volunteer sense. Like at a lot of places, there's animals. People play the podcast. Now that's really romantic to me. I mean, I love animals, and knowing the podcast is playing is, they wind down for the night and put their heads down. That really is touching to me. But also kind of just seeing listeners brushing their teeth, and they kind of you can't really hear that great when you're brushing your teeth, but that's kind of, you don't really need to hear me that great. And then, they're ideally your flaw. Yep. Thanks. Dentists everywhere are actually giving me applause. Everybody, all my listeners floss. Of course, dentists. Then maybe you do the rest of your skincare routine. If you do any, I'm big on I don't. I'm aspirationally, one day, not only will I have a skincare routine, I'll have an elbow routine. I don't know why again, romanticize bombing elbows, but I do. And the whole time this intro's playing, and then the listener gets into bed maybe, and maybe they're paging through something, or maybe they're doing, it'd be hard. I guess you could journal and listen to this podcast. But as I said, maybe you're doodling, getting your temperature set, getting your blanket set, maybe dimming the lights. And that, so the intro for a lot of listeners is part of the wind down, I guess was my point. Statistically speaking, I think 2 or 3% of people skip the intro to about 18 minutes and start the show there. And some listeners fall asleep during the intro. And I think a lot of those listeners become patrons, that way you keep the show going. And so some new people, like when you're new, the intro it can definitely throw you off because it's not super efficient, just because I found bedtime and getting to bed isn't efficient. So it's about a 12 or 14 minute wind down where I just kind of try to explain the podcast in a slow, easy motion, get lost in my discursive thinking, try to come up with goofy metaphors. Then I forget what metaphor I made at the beginning of the show. That already happened. Then I'll try to come up with another metaphor. I may talk to imaginary friends, take phone calls from imaginary beings, which feel to me very real. A lot of friendly banter. So that's the intro. But it's a big part of the show for a lot of listeners, and it's kind of something that's grown out of listener feedback. And that's, it's optional. Like those regular listeners know that. So that's the intro. Then tonight after the intro, there's some business tucked between the intro and the show. Again, you're winding down, keeps the show going. Then tonight we'll be talking about Doctor Who, I think season 2, episode 11 or 12, probably, somewhere in there. The episode with the Olympics in it. And it'll be very indirect discussion of the episode. Not really any spoilers, not really any points. We'll just talk about road work and crayons and things like that. So it kind of barely resembled the original episode. Maybe talk about some stuff I had to look up and say, I wonder what that meant. Or, that's what they call that in England. What do they call it in the U.S.? Or things, say, okay, what are some factoids about the 2012 Olympiad? They say, Scoots, actually, it's the 60, and I say, thank you, brain. So that'll be the episode portion. Then at the end of the show is some thank yous. So that's structurally what to expect. And here's the good news. This is this podcast doesn't really have a lot of rules. People use it in tons of different ways. There's people that listen to 10 episodes a night. There's people that listen to the same episode over and over. And like I said, we've talked about other use cases. But this is one podcast you don't really need to listen to. And ideally, I just get enough of your attention to take your mind off whatever's keeping you awake. I walk at your side, stand at your side, sit at your side, sit nearby, sit across the hall, across the room, whatever you're comfortable with. And keep you company as you drift off into the arms of Morpheus. So you don't need to listen to me. And there is a percentage of listeners either that don't understand anything I'm saying or that turn me way down to a mumble. But there's also no pressure to fall asleep. This is, I guess, the paradox is like you don't need to listen, but you can. You might not hear any of the story, but the story or the journey of this Doctor Who episode will be complete because there is no pressure to fall asleep. I'm going to be here about an hour. You could queue up 10 hours of episodes if you need them. I'm here to keep you company. I'm here for those listeners that can't sleep just as much as for the ones that are deep asleep. And oh boy, do you look good sleeping so deeply. It makes me so happy because I know, that you're resting. But those of you that aren't, I'm here too. And you, by the way, you look great too. Did you bomb your elbows tonight? Oh boy. So I'm here. No pressure to fall asleep at all. You fall asleep at your leisure. Or not. I mean, I'm here to keep you company. I truly believe you deserve a good night's sleep. I'm someone that's struggled with sleep on and off in tons of different ways, including this one, which the podcast, this might be one of the few use cases the podcast is not good for, or might be good for the wind down portion is like the 30 minutes before your alarm wake up. That's what's been going on with me this week. And I'd say that's great that you're really waking up right before that alarm, but not part of what we planned or discussed last night. So, no, really, if you say, I'm glad there's some sort of go-getter inside me, but I'd prefer you do any of your go-getting or getting or going after the alarm. As much as I loathe the alarm and like to wake up without it, it's really there as a aspirational thing. You see, when that alarm goes off, that's like the ideal, like we've been asleep for 8 hours exactly. And I know it's partially cognitive dissonance, but I'd really appreciate it if you just, I don't know what we're going to do for those 30 minutes anyway. I think about you just lie, I've seen the ceiling, so I got a good view of it. Okay, we could talk about it later. You're right. I'm doing a podcast intro. So anyway, my main point is I'm glad you're here. I really hope I can help you, especially if you're new, but if you're a regular listener, I'm so glad you're back. And I'm so glad you give me this opportunity to keep you company and to help you drift off. I work very hard. I strive and I yearn. You know what? I take this nonsense seriously to be, for this opportunity to be nonsensical, seriously. So thank you so much for coming by. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody, before we get to the story here, you might have heard the update. The show's crossed some milestones, 800 episodes. Show's impacted hundreds and hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people and allowed them to get a good night's sleep. And really, that is because of the people that have taken action to support the show, the rebels with a cause that have said, sleep with me is valuable to me. It's a part of my life. And I want it to be out there free in the world. And coming up here in September, we're going to be doing something really fun. So if you've ever been a patron, whether you are one now or you were one in the past, or you want to become one, do it now, but before September 15th, because that's that's going to be the cutoff date for this exciting thing we're doing. But really, just become a patron. If you're in a position to do so financially, you really do feel like you get value out of the podcast and you want it to be free for everybody and be there when you need it. And you feel like, being wild. You say, well, yeah, I pay all these corporations monthly fees. So let me pay for a podcast I get a lot out of. That's there for me. And I want it to be there for other people too. It's really generous. So those of you that have already done that or have done it in the past, thank you so much. Like I do say it, and I think it's easy to kind of tune it out. This podcast wouldn't be here without you, without your action. I'm really indebted to you because you are the wind in my sails. You are the water that waters the soil or whatever, the nutrients that allow the seed to grow. So thank you so much. And if you're newer or you say, oh, wait a second. Yeah, I've been thinking about becoming a patron. You do it between now and September 15th so you can get in on this thing we're going to be doing. It's going to be fun and it's going to be celebratory. But just wanted to thank you so much. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/patrons, how you become a rebel with the cause. Thanks. All right, everybody. They were talking about Series 2, Season 2 of Doctor Who. If you're watching it on Amazon, it's episode 12. If you're watching it somewhere else, it's probably episode 11. And I have the alternative working title here, Her Olympics. But it also has a different title. It was a really enjoyable episode. Olympic themed a little bit, blue and cloudy sky. It opens with happy music. There's actually a blue sky with clouds, which I said, last episode was about ELO, Mr. Blue Sky. We see a banner that says London 2012 Olympics or Olympics 2012 London or 2012 London Olympics or 2012 Olympics of London. And then, what do we see? Mail person, there's road repair going on. At first I thought the mail person was doing food delivery, but then I said, no, I think that's mail delivery, not because this is 2012. It wasn't like one of the food delivery services. Though it could have been filmed. I don't actually know when it was filmed. We see a baby in a pram, kids playing soccer in their yard, a dock washing. Oh, dad is washing a car. We see someone with her hand on a second-story window looking out. A woman looks around. Then I think there's a spin cam. The doctor can't help DK. Can't you feel it? Go inside. I don't know what DK means or ad. Maybe is that an ad? No. Yeah, but what happens is, I just saw the spin cam. It's a woman. She's walking with her basket, and she knows something's coming. She says something's happening. She's surprised why nobody else notices it. Then her name's Maeve, actually, just like the famous lamppost named Maeve, if you listen to Everything is Alive podcast. Oh, yeah, they say, you want us to call a doctor? She says, no, doctor can't help with this. She says, don't you feel it? It's in the air. And she tells everybody go inside. We hear Kookaburra, a girl singing that song. We see a boy in a Union Jack polo, or was a T-shirt. I wasn't sure. The girl that was singing is also drawing. Laugh, Kookaburra. Spiegel writing. I don't know what I'm not sure what that says, but then the dad is dismissive of the woman, Maeve. Does this say goad or road or, goal? There's with the goal. We go back to the girl who's drawing. She's really into it. And then she finds a way to take the boy with the Union Jack out of the goal, the soccer goal, and put him in a drawing for fun, for total fun purposes. He's not so sure about it, but then the episode opens. It's by Matthew Graham. Then we see after the open the two blue, not crates. What are those called? Like storage containers, like shipping containers almost, that are almost the same blue. The TARDIS is in between them, like just a little bit less than wedged in there, so that they can't open the TARDIS door. I guess this would be trivia. The TARDIS door opens outward. And so then the TARDIS dematerializes and materializes with the door turned. The doctor goes out. He has his brown pinstripe suit on, but he does not have a tie. He says, Rose looks at a Shane Ward poster, like post no bills. Shane Ward bills are posted for an upcoming Shane Ward show. It's the near future because the director says, yes, time for the 30th Olympiad in London. He said, I had a passing fancy, but didn't pass. So we came here. They talk about Club Med. Doctor seems like only yesterday I was at the original Olympics, with the Greeks. And he wants to go to the opening ceremony. Like, I thought they would like it. He was also at the one in 1948 at Wembley. Looking for carrying the torch. He loves cakes with ball bearings on there. Little cakes with crunchy ball bearings. They're on a thoroughly ordinary street, I think the doctor mentions. But then, of course, Rose realizes, she says, it feels cold. And then what does it say? What makes you think it is a person? But why is it so cold? The doctor says, someone reducing the temperature. And then they realize they were brought there for a reason. Rose says, what makes a person do something? And the doctor says, what makes you think it's a person? And then the doctor runs off to Fool Fields, something with his, field goal, the football goal with his fingers. A car stalls out by Rose for the 5th time today. I don't know what that says. I thought it said bonkers, but it might say benders or bounders. Maybe it's this gentleman's name. Let's see. Their car, as a Cooper Mini ran out, the gentleman working says 5th time today. He says, let me give you a push. The guy says, I just got my car tuned up. I don't even know what had happened. Oh, he does say, it's bonkers. And then Rose helps him push the car. It starts after they get it going a little while. The doctor tickles something. Doctor tickles his fingers. Let's see. Dad, what you can't come. The doctor talks about the game Shoots and Ladders by another name. The gentleman talks about tarmacking every pothole. They talk about the torch roof's going to be nearby. That's why he's been making the streets look good. Oh, yeah, the doctor senses some tickles in his fingers. No, the dad comes and says, why are you standing in my kid's goal, dude? What's your game? And the doctor goes, well, I'm good. Oh, Shoots and Ladders, squash. Those are the games I like to play. He goes, I'm being facetious, though. Sorry. I've got a colleague, Lewis, who's Rose, because the dad's acting like, the doctor's like using his psychic paper. He says something like, it's right here. Then it's like an argument between the city, the council workers and the people that live on the streets. And a guy from the council says, stop picking on me and stop blaming me. And then the doctor says, everybody put your fingers on your lips. And then he says, come on, this was a good street. Not a person. Please look. Then we see the person looking out the window. The doctor does some sniffing like a dog. He sits right here among us. Metal smell, the doctor says. Hairs on the back of my neck or back of my head. I'm sensing an awful lot of power. Then we see the young girl who's been drawing. Her name's Chloe. She's drawing a cat with Dale, the boy in the Union Jack shirts. And let's see, who looks frowny? Dale looks frowny. And then she says, I made Dale a frowny cat, which will make him happy. Then I put man torch watch. Chloe does not come. I'm busy, Mom. So I think her mom, I'm watching everybody has their fingers on their lips now. And then Maeve asks Doctor for permission to speak. She says, look around. Yeah, this used to be a great street. And I don't know if Chloe's mom was portrayed in a specific way or not, but she's definitely aloof in this episode. So I don't know if that was intentional or not. But Chloe, like in her mom says, she goes, Mom, unless you want me to draw you, stay out of my drawing business. I don't want to watch the Olympic torch. Rose sees a cat. Doctor says, oh, this is definitely not a person. Because the cat goes to another dimension. Let's see what else come up here. The cat sneaks into a box and then goes into the drawing land with Chloe. Doctor says, blimey. We got to find the source of the power that's drawing everybody into the drawings. Well, they don't know everybody's in a drawing yet. They just know they're being drawn away. Find the source of power. Keep up pockets, Lewis. So the doctor's still calling Lewis, Rose Lewis, like they're looking into stuff. He says some other thing, like a typical, like a copper would in a show. Keep up something, Lewis. Chloe talks, scolds kids. Oh, she scolds the kids in her drawing. And then she gets frustrated. She makes a big scribble. Oh, Daisy Fairweather is the person currently carrying the torch. Then Rose goes up to a garage. She hears some sort of noise in the garage. And she says, I'm not going to open it, not going to open it, not going to open it, not going to open it. And then she opens it and the scribble flies out like a flock of birds. The doctor zaps it with a sonic screwdriver. This answered a question from the last episode because the doctor and Rose have a big hug. So that was, I said, okay, so Rose and the doctor do have a physical connection. Let's see what else they put the dialogue. So let's see what they talk about here. Let's see. Okay, that was a scribble. Maybe it was an ionic scribble being. Huh. The doctor, they test it back at the TARDIS. Oh, it's the same material as graphite pencil. Oh, doctor calls it so dinky. Yeah, it comes from the same energy. So it's graphite. So they do determine, Rose goes, well, what if it was from a child's drawing? You said it was on the street. Oh, the girl upstairs looking out the window. And her mom looked like she had something on her mind. And then the doctor goes, are you deducing or deducting? And Rose goes, I am. A copper's hunch. Permission to follow it up, Sarge. Oh, I didn't look this up, HB pencil, but that was interesting. Why make a scribble being like Charles? Are you deducing? They go to the house, knock, knock, knock. Repurpose move. What does that mean? Talk with mom. Oh, they do a reverse, like the reverse psychology move. They knock on the door. They say, hey, mind if we check in with your daughter? She says, no. They say, all right, no problem. And the doctor walks off with Rose, and then they say, well, why do you want to see Chloe? And they say, the doctor goes, well, I just thought I'd look into it. Something going on here. Thought she could help. Sorry, we'll just move on. You can handle it yourself. And then Trish, and mom says, well, can you help? And we get a little backstory while Rose goes sneaking around the house and then hides in a linen closet. Chloe goes out of her room. Rose sneaks into her room. It's a nice room. Lots of kids' stuff, lots of kids' drawings of kids. Rose knocks over the pencils. She notices the kids' faces have changed. So she says, oh, these kids are in these drawings. Doctor's getting backstory downstairs. Chloe's getting milk. Rose goes, how you doing, Chloe Weber? And she goes, I'm busy, as a matter of fact. And Trish talks about Chloe like she's not there. Doctor gives her the Vulcan salute. I had to look that up. I was calling it Spock hands. And Chloe says, she's trying to help the drawings, but they don't stop moaning. And Chloe's a little bit irritated with her mom. Rose looks into like a wardrobe, and there's a big drawing in there. Chloe says, Doctor, hit the road. I'm busy. Doctor calls her a spoil sport. What's the project? Yeah, glowing eye. Chloe drew a drawing with glowing eyes. Rose calls the doctor because she says, I don't like this looks of this drawing. It's a drawing in her closet or wardrobe. And the mom says, you guys got to leave out of the house. I think Chloe gives a little hint because she talks about herself in the plural, us. She refers to herself, kind of her and her mom, but also just to herself as us. Mom's in a bit of denial about everything. Doctor tries to break through the denial. I'm here to help. Doctor starts to exit jelly or something. I don't know if he was eating brown sauce or jelly in the kitchen. Rose and the mom of the doctor talk. The doctor does a ton of staring and thinking. And then, speaking of Spock, they go back to Chloe's room. The doctor does a bit of like a mind meld so he can talk to another being that's living with Chloe. And he says, now we can talk. Also, Chloe gave the doctor the Vulcan salute back before he did the Vulcan mind meld. And there's another being with Chloe. Doctor says, I'm here in compliance parlay with the Shadow Proclamation. Chloe says, I don't care about shadows or parlay. It turns out that the being living with Chloe is called Isolus, which is let's see what I got. Chloe does mind meld, parlaysies. I think even that term got used. Like a bit of a Gollum turn. Lonely. Isolus is lonely, far from home. Part of like a collective being. Takes thousands of years for these Isolus, which are like kind of like seed pods a bit. They're from an empathetic planet of community beings. They fly on solar tides, thousands of years to grow up. While they travel, they play with each other in this imaginary empathy thing. They run on the fuel of love, or they feel each other's love, but a solar flare kind of knocked this particular Isolus off the chart. It was drawn to the heat in the street while they were patching the streets, and empathized with Chloe. But this is, this being does not belong there. So they say, well, you got to get back. Of course, this isn't easy on Chloe. So then they sing Kookaburra to calm her down. Then we see a bunch of Chloe's marker and pen collection. We get back more backstory. Mom. Oh, I think the pretty big fonts, 4 billion Zoe. Watching 80,000 crowd looking for the pod. But there's something, I don't know what any of that means, to be honest with you. Marker and pen collection and backstory. Okay, so they hint to Mom, the Isolus is from a big family, 4 billion people. So that's what, the Isolus is going to want to find a bigger family soon. Then they're watching the opening games, a crowd of 80,000. Rose and the doctor go out looking for the pod, wherever the Isolus' little ship came. And Zoe sneaks out of the house. She sees the TARDIS and the doctor. The doctor and Rose are on the TARDIS looking for like a search device to find the pod. The doctor says they're two lonely mixed up kids, the Isolus and Chloe. We got to help them. Because Rose kind of speaks for the audience's skepticism in some way. Says, why should we help these two? And the doctor says, they're just mixed up. They use a binary dot and some wormhole reflectors or something. Rose, Chloe, I put Zoe there, but she has stashed pencils everywhere and pens hidden in her room. The doctor drops a huge hint. I was a dad once. Even though they're in the middle of something, the doctor changes the subject. He says it in passing. Rose gives a WTF look. Fear and loneliness, doctor says, those are powerful things. And most of all, you need a hand to hold. Again, beautiful language in there. Everything is coming up, doctor, he says, like a gull's egg. But then the doctor gets it. Chloe draws the doctor into a drawing. Doctor into drawing is in something, and Rose is not happy. Oh, they weren't happy because Rose, they said, don't leave Chloe alone and don't let her draw anything. And then the mom's like, why? Mom must have been a big Olympics fan because she's like, I'm watching the Olympics and having a glass of soda. Does try to chill doctor's hands in pockets. Rose tries to chill out. The doctor's hands are in the pockets in the picture. Rose says again, don't leave her alone. She goes out to talk to Kel, who's the guy looking at the road. He's working on the road. He's fixing it again. There was a good joke. He said, I could write the big book about tarmacking. He goes, every 6 days, this is 6 days ago is the first pothole fix. So Rose realizes that's when the whole thing started. So she's like, where's the first pothole? And then let's see what the dialogue was pretty good. Because she says, I'm going to dig it up. And he says, no, state, you can't. This is, council property, van, Rose says, don't worry, I'll dig up the pothole. You can put it back. It went for the hottest thing in the street, your tar, in the pothole. And she pulls out, it looks like a shell. And she goes, Kel says, what is it? She goes, it's a spaceship. Rose finds that Chloe's drawing again. She's alone. So her mom's back, a little bit aloof. She talks to the she takes the starfruit moon. Mom's downstairs having a drink, empty Chloe empties the whole Olympic opening games stadium. She draws the whole stadium, which they said before it happened, was 80,000 people and 30,000 athletes. Bob in a box. They say, back to you, Bob. WTF. Rose and pickaxe. Pictures are moving. Doctor, more than heat. The torch is a beam. So they're trying to figure out, okay, Rose wants to get the doctor out of the picture. And to do that, they got to get Chloe or the Isolus back to, outer space. And it's like, okay, it doesn't just need heat. And the Rose is working with the doctor's painting. And then the Olympic opening games is going on TV. They say, oh, the torch is more than just a beacon or more than heat. It's a beacon of hope and love. And this handwriting is still going towards random empty. What DER's timing? Let me see if I can look that up. Let's see. Okay, here it goes. Needs more than heat. The Isola says. Rose says once. Kel says, I see the picture move, but it needs more hope, more than heat, doctor. That's when they say it's more than a torch. It's a beacon of hope, fortitude, and courage. A beacon of love. And then Rose knows how to charge the pod. So she runs out to the route. She goes, I got to get closer. I can stop everything. Meanwhile, Chloe's trying to get more family members, 4 billion or whatever. She's drawing the globe. So there's a ticking clock now. The pod is making noises. Rose says, you can feel the love, can't you? And Rose throws a pod and it flies into the torch. And the torchbearer goes to a knee and then keeps going. And then we go to Chloe's room, and Isolus leaves her. It says, I can go home. Goodbye, Chloe Weber. I love you. Chloe's back. She kind of reconnects with her mom. Let's see, pop beeps. Perfect throw. Feel the love. Goodbye, Chloe Weber. I love you, mommy. She says, everyone gets out of the pictures. There's big music, big hugs. Everybody's reunited. Stadium's filled, but the doctor's missing. Maeve is back on the street. She's all happy. Yeah, all drawings are back to normal. Isolus energy, not alone. Sing, doctor. I don't know what that meant, but, the Isolus is getting to go back home. The doctor's still missing. The Olympics are back on the TV. They say, thank goodness, Bob. Good to have you back. Bob said, I think it was in a drawing. And then they say, where's the dude with the dude who can't run anymore with the torch? And then in a total moment of joy, I guess the doctor scoops up the torch. The doctor does, and starts running with it. He's carrying the flame. They say it's more than a flame. It's hope, courage, love. There's big cheers and grins. The doctor runs right into the Olympic Stadium, lights the Olympic flame. The Isolus flies out. Everyone's in the streets with joy. Cake with ball bearings. Rose says to the doctor, he says, top banana. And then there's big hugs. And then there's quite the tease. Because let's see how's it close? Cake, top banana. Ball bearings you can eat, masterpiece. And Rose goes, I thought you were gone. Kind of. And the doctor goes, not on a night like this. This is time for lost things to be found. He goes, let's go to the games. And Rose goes, who does good and what? And then they joke. And the fireworks just start. And Rose says, you know what, doctor? We'll never be split up. And then the doctor says, never say never. And Rose goes, well, what was that about being a father? She doesn't say that, but she says, we'll never split. Don't you reckon, doctor? And the doctor goes, there's something in the air. A storm's approaching. And the episode comes to a close. Okay, so let's check the 2012 Olympics. I think I have this game on Wii with Mario and Sonic. It was 2012 Summer Olympics, the 30th Olympiad, known as London 2012. July 27th to August 12th, 2012. Women's football was the first event held at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. And followed by the Olympic ceremonies on the 27th of July. The bid was held by the mayor of London and Olympian Sebastian Coe. They won over New York, Madrid, Moscow, and Paris. The first city to have modern Olympics 3 times. The last 2 times were 1908 and 1948. Let's see. There was a lot of work that went into it and rebuilding and reuse of venues, widespread acclaim for the organization. Opening ceremony was directed by Danny Boyle. Michael Phelps won this 22nd medal. Let's see. Anything else? Bidding process. We don't need to know about that. You just barely beat out Paris, though. It was really close. Yeah, development, venues, Hyde Park. You have a lot of stuff that we could, link to it. They tried to get their upgraded to public transport to get ready. They ran a cable car across the Thames. I don't know if that's still up or not. The plan was to have 80% of athletes have to travel less than 20 minutes to their event, and 93% in less than 30 minutes. Let's see what else here. Cost, of course, has expensive ticketing, countdown, medals. Oh, torch relay. Here we go. The Olympic torch ran from May 19th to the 27th of July before the games. Plans were developed in 2010 and 2011, and the torchbearer selection process announced on 2011, May 18th. They were May 18th, 2012, the flame arrived in Cornwall from Greece on a flight called Firefly. And on the flight, the flame was carried inside of 4 minor lamps supplied by a lamp company from Manchester. It really lasted 70 days with 67 celebrations, 6 island visits, 8,000 people carrying the torch, starting from Land's End in Cornwall, 3 days outside the UK when it visited the Isle of Man and Dublin and Guernsey and Jersey. It focused on national heritage sites with sporting significance. Let's see. Dumfries and Galloway were the only regions in the UK that had it pass through twice. And, it was actually lit together with a few different torch bearers. Opening ceremony. Opening ceremony began at 9 p.m. British summertime, which is UTC +1. It was called The Isles of Wonder. It was Danny Boyle and music direction by Rick Smith, opened by Elizabeth II with Prince Philip. It was the second games the Queen had opened personally, the first being the 1976 games in Montreal. It included a short comic film with Daniel Craig, the Queen, and Rowan Atkinson as Mr. Bean. There's a bunch of performers, and then the closing ceremonies around the 12th of August. So that's a little bit about the 2012 Summer Olympics. What about Pram? Pram is for a four-wheeled, what do you call it thing? Conveyance for children, baby transports. But it's also a small, shallow draught, flat bottom ship, or a boat with a transom bow rather than a pointed bow, which makes sense because I don't think prams are pointed. Kookaburras are terrestrial kingfishers native to Australia and New Guinea, which can grow to 28 to 42 centimeters. It's an onomatopoeia of their call, Kookaburra. The loud, distinctive call of laughing kookaburra is widely used as sound effects in movies for take place in Australia. Let's see. There's the rufous-bellied kookaburra, the spangled kookaburra, blue-winged kookaburra, laughing kookaburra, and the shovel-billed kookaburra. They eat small forest friends. It doesn't look like they're under any kind of, it says they're listed as the least concerned. The Australian law does protect native birds. They're famous because their laugh sounds very human. They were one of the 3 mascots in the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. The other was, let's see, it was Sid the Platypus, and Millie the Chinda. There's a famous book, The Mystery of the Laughing Shadow. There's, of course, the famous song, which we'll get into. And I guess that's the extent of some facts about the kookaburra. Oh, this is all from Wikipedia, everything that we've done so far. Kookaburra, I say kookaburra, also known as Kookaburra Sits in the Old Gum Tree, is a popular Australian nursery rhyme and round about the kookaburra. It was written by Marion Sinclair in 1932, who was a music teacher. And she had a sudden inspiration and church dashed home, wrote the words to Kookaburra. and entered the song in a competition run by the Girls Guide Association of Victoria with the rights of the winning song to be sold to raise money for the purchase of a camping ground. The song's well known around the world. Copyright status, still under copyright. Yeah, I think that's about it. Like, I can't sing on the podcast. So, and I know a long time ago I read the words to it. Who's Matthew Graham? Matthew Graham was on the credits for this episode. Is a British television writer, also a co-creator of the great show Life on Mars, which came out in 2006. And there's actually like a U.S. version of it too. There's also a spin-off, Ashes to Ashes. He's worked on other shows. Bone Kickers, a 6-part drama series about archaeology set in Bath. And I think that's it. What do we got? Like, did an episode of EastEnders. Let's see, a couple more Doctor Who episodes. Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. So just a little bit from Wikipedia about Matthew Graham. What about Shane Ward? Shane Ward looks a little bit like Rob Cesternino, actually. And Shane Ward, born in 1984, English singer and actor. Best known for his role as Aidan Connor on Coronation Street from 2015 to 2018. He was the winner of the second series of X Factor. His debut single came out in 2005. That's My Goal. Went to Christmas #1 charts. It was the first X Factor winner to release an original song as a winner single. Original song, I mean. Signed on to Simon Cowell's record label, hit platinum in the UK, 4x platinum in Ireland, also 2 more hit singles, No Promises and Stand By Me. Also had a hit with the follow-up album, Breathless. After a little hiatus in 2010, the third album came out. Then we started to go to TV fame. And I would say definitely Easy on the Eyes. And then his shirt's open on, Wikipedia. So, now what about Club Med? I don't know. Like, the only thing I knew about Club Med, I guess, was Wrong. I thought it was a thing in the 80s that single people used to go to for vacations. But it turns out, I'm like looking at this one, it's a private company headquartered in France, premium all-inclusive holidays, started in 1950 by a Belgian entrepreneur, Gerard Blitz. It was a low-priced summer colony of tents, and then the first official Club Med was built in Italy. Members stayed in unlit straw huts on the beach, sharing communal washing facilities, but it's been upgraded. In 1961, Baron Rothschild visited it and enjoyed it. They opened winter villages in Switzerland and Tahiti, Mediterranean, Caribbean, and Florida. Originally attracting many singles and young couples. Then it became a destination for families in the 60s. Because I guess, I don't know, when the 80s, I thought it was like I thought it was really fancy. In the 90s, there was too much competition, so they went on the decline. Then from a holiday village company to a services company, they've tried to change, then they've had gyms, restaurants, and clubs. But that strategy was not successful. In 2015, it was acquired. Let's see what else we need to know. Villages, there's family resorts, resorts for everyone, and resorts for adult only. Exclusive collection. In popular culture, the phrase Club Med, a cheap holiday for other people's, this is And then the Sex Pistols had a song about it, too. It was satired in a film called Les Bronzes, released in English as French Fried Vacation. Another movie with Jim Carrey and Alan Thicke, Copper Mountain, a Club Med experience, was a quasi-commercial for the Club Med Village at Copper Mountain, Colorado. In 1986, there was a TV movie, Club Med, with Linda Hamilton and Jack Scalia. So, I don't know. I guess I still don't know anything about it. Maybe there's some other, I guess maybe there was a different thing that I'm thinking of. But I guess it just seems like an all-inclusive resort, I guess, because once somebody copied that, then that's when their fortune, it's like, oh, we could just give you free alcohol and food. I guess maybe cruise ships probably were competition. Okay, so this is a website, mybluprint.com, My Blueprint. This is by Jesse Olson Moore from November 17, 2018. And I'll be paraphrasing everything you wanted to know about sprinkles. And there's tons of stuff. There's round sprinkles, nonpareils or whatever. Teeny tiny balls, rainbow of hues. Nonpareil means without equal in French, or pareil, whatever. British have their own name for these orbs, hundreds and thousands, 100,000s. I think I've heard that. This is possibly the cutest way to say sprinkles. Then there's cylinder sprinkles. These are made by extruding sugar paste in long, skinny ropes. In some parts, these type of sprinkles are referred to as a jimmy. Then there's the balls the doctor likes, dragées, D-R-A-G-E-E-S, dragées. It's a confection with a hard outer shell. The name comes from a term for sugar-coated pills, but really any candy-coated garnish could be a form of dragée from Jordan Almond's M&M's. But when it comes to cake, people will think of these as the metallic toned ones resembling ball bearings. And you got to make sure to check the ingredients. They say sanding sugar. I don't even know what that is. Translucent, available in a variety of colors, larger grain than white sugar. Oh, adds a nice light touch. Crystal sugar is sanding sugar's older sibling, translucent in many colors, but larger and coarser. Pearl sugar looks a bit like dragées. Shaped sprinkles, they can come in any shapes, stars, and etc. So that's just a little bit about sprinkles. What about the game Chutes and Ladders? It also is known by other names, but we won't worry about those ones, of course. Oh boy, hold on. I just messed up. I just pressed the wrong button. Chutes and Ladders, and then we'll talk about one other thing after that. It's actually an ancient Indian board game, now a worldwide classic. It does go by other names. 2 players on a game board having numbered gridded squares. A number of ladders and chutes are on each board, connecting 2 specific board squares. The object of the game is navigate one's game piece from the bottom to the top, helped or hindered by the chutes and ladders. The game is a bit like basically a race to see who can get to the top first based on sheer luck, popular with young children. The historic version had roots in morality lessons, where the player's progression up the board represented a journey through life via virtue, ladders, and chutes, vice. Mostly is played on a board. Originated in India as a part of a family of dice board games. Maybe at the same time as Ludo and Parcheesi. Milton Bradley started putting out in 1942. But you could see them in the National Museum in New Delhi has a very older version of the game. So that's cool. And then let's finish with the Vulcan salute. Let's say goodnight on that. Vulcan salute is a popular hand gesture popularized in the 60s to show Star Trek, raised hand with palm forward, thumb extended, while the fingers are parted between the middle and the ring finger, devised by Leonard Nimoy. New York Times, 68, New York Times interview said it was a double-fingered version of Churchill's victory sign. And Nimoy said in that interview that he decided Vulcans were a hand-oriented people. First appeared on the second season opening episode, Amok Time, Amoktime. The gesture is known for being difficult for certain people to do properly without practice or the covert prepositioning of fingers. I can do it on my left hand. On my right hand, I would have to preposition the fingers. Difficulty may stem from variations in manual dexterity. It was parodied in Star Trek First Contact when Zephram is unable to do the gesture and then shakes a Vulcan's hand. In the autobiography, I Am Not Spock, Nimoy wrote that he placed it on the priestly blessing, performed both hands thumb to thumb after the Hebrew letter Shin, or Shin, Shin, which has 3 upward strokes, is similar to the position of the thumb and fingers in the gesture, which stands for Almighty, and as well as Shalom. According to Wikipedia, Nimoy wrote that when he was a child, his grandfather took him to an Orthodox synagogue where he saw the blessing performed and was impressed by it. Others often greeted Nimoy with the Vulcan sign, and it became so well known that it was in 2014 was added to version 7 of the Unicode standard, U+1F596. So maybe that's how you do the emoji. And so that's a little bit about that. And I give you the Vulcan salute, the vocal Vulcan salute. Live long and prosper. Good night. I want to thank everybody who reviewed the show over on Apple Podcasts, either in their phone or on iTunes on their desktop. Snapperoo from Australia says, I love, I've been using it for over a year on and off when I have trouble getting to sleep, stops my head swirling, and helps me get a good night's rest. Thank you. Cool Gamer 2362, who's really Cool Gamer #1 in my book from Australia, says, thanks, Scoots. Trouble sleeping. Sometimes we stay up for 2 hours. When I found out about sleeping, I fell asleep so much faster. It's awesome. I've been using it ever since. Thank you. That comes from 1708 podcast listener. Someone listening since 1708. Must be a time traveler. They're from the UK. So, podcast helps me so much. Been better than lying awake in the bed daytime. Tay says the best sleep aid. Bad insomnia. Used to listen to Welcome to Night Vale. Yeah, but sometimes it'd be interesting or adventurous. Just Cecil's voice is like more like sweet, buttery, dulcet tones. And Scooter's got those skooky, dulcet tones. But now I realize why it's loved. It helps me fall asleep. Recommended it to my cousin. Even the credit song I enjoy. And I love how smooth it is. Thank you so much. Comes from Sammy. Been listening about 6 months of the show, dealt with a lot of different stuff, and I trust Super Scooter to put me back to sleep. I'm having trouble saying my own name, and if I can't fall back asleep, this helps. GDGHSEHBXGB from the UK does not loathes the podcast. They say it's horrible, dislike the voice, slurred words, takes everything, they don't. So, moving on. Sissy W0608 from the UK. Most amazing podcast. Heart. Dealt with the trouble with sleeping, but this podcast helps as soon as my head hits the pillow. I'm a student with homework, family time, friends, and, self-care to juggle, and that doesn't leave a lot for sleeping. Then I would get in bed at 9, couldn't fall asleep till 12. However, I started listening to this podcast. Now I get a full 8 hours of sleep, perform better at school, have more time to spend on myself, and overall, so much happier and more fulfilled. That's the real goal of the podcast. San says, from Canada, says, it changed sleeping for me. Been insomniac since I was a child because of this podcast, getting a full night's sleep. Thanks. Zoe says from Canada says everything is okay. I used to get negative thoughts when I couldn't sleep. Same here. I hear you. This podcast holds my brain's hand and guides me where everything is okay. Thank goodness. Jack says, something about his voice helps me sleep. I have issues falling asleep. I use earplugs, eye mask, found this podcast, traded my earplugs for earbuds. Fall asleep in about 15 minutes. Thanks for the show. The Wise Owlet says, truly, I make to fall asleep during the intro. Voice, good nature, and good vibes. Best lullabies ever. Lifesaver, that's from Lizzie. Deal with racing thoughts, anxiety, fall asleep within 10 minutes. Save my favorite episodes, play them on repeats. Trigdon77 says, unbelievable. First, I was skeptical, but dealt with a lot of insomnia. Would sleep 2 hours, wake up, couldn't fall back asleep. First night I put this on, I stayed asleep. I thought it was a fluke. Then I tried it again and again. Cracks me up when I'm awake, and then I fall fast asleep. I couldn't tell you about how it works. Thank you. Ginger Goodness 27 says, can't live without. Scoots' Boar Bud, best thing since spiced bread, or spiced bread, spliced bread, and sliced bread. No pressure to fall asleep. It takes a while. It takes a few listens to get it and realize the podcast makes no sense. That's the point. Takes your mind off whatever's got you wrapped up. Yeah, there are commercials. That's how we keep the show free. But yeah, let me ask you this: how do you think the podcast is free? It's his job. I wish I found this podcast years ago. Better than a noise machine, better than a TV. Peaceful and love it. Thank you. And I think we did. Maybe we didn't do that. This is Finally Sleep. That's from PCAT in 1985. Works 99% of the time. The other 1%, I'm just because I'm distracted by the brain bots. I also take tea, diffuse some lavender. Oh no, that's a good one. Those are some of the things I do. I cut the tea because of the pee, but Kate Mikey says, sleep with me, Scooter. Kindness, gentleness, zero schmaltz, sharp whip comedy. Oh yeah, we did. They want their subscription to Cogent Realtor. No problem. Thanks everybody for reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Sleep With Me exists because of direct listener support, either by people that become patrons and support the show on Patreon or people that support our sponsors. That's how we're able to bring the show free. Sleep With Me grows by people that share the show. You can see how to share it eventually when I put this up on our website, sleepwithmepodcast.com/share. And Sleep With Me is a proud member of Night Vale Presents. You know, when you're hearing this, it won't be a new podcast anymore. But one of the newest podcasts right now, just starting in March 2019, is Start With This, where Jeffrey and Joseph from the creators of Welcome to Night Vale create a podcast and creativity playground to help you put your ideas in motion. And it comes with little assignments. It's a podcast to help you create, to help you write, and make something, anything, and then make something else. And you can find that at nightvalepresents.com or wherever you consume your podcast. Just search for Start With This. We're also a member of PRX. You can see everything they're doing at prx.org. And there's plenty of other episodes ready to go if you need them. I'm here all night, all right? Let me just tuck you in there. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Good night.